Hi, I'd like to talk about getting gear and potentially getting it broken or stolen. And this is exactly what happened to me multiple times, and which is very painful. So I'm going to share with you some of my stories, the way I feel about it, the way I think about gear, and then hopefully I'll hear some of your stories. So before I tell you some anecdotes, I really believe in getting quality gear. So when I buy something, especially when it's camera gear or audio gear, I tend to get the good stuff, which is expensive. But my hope is for it to be a good tool that will deliver good results with minimum amount of frustration. Sometimes it doesn't pan out like that. So I was rummaging through my stuff this morning. I just got back from a trip and just browsing my things. And then I came across this battery grip. This is a vertical hand grip for my Fujifilm XT4 camera, which is what I'm filming this on as we speak. And it broke on me. And it was very expensive because when you buy this thing, it sets you back about 290 euros here in Belgium. And the reason I got it in the first place is because I like to go out for about a week at a time. And then I just need a lot of autonomy, lots of battery power, but also just because it's ergonomic. It's something to grab. It's a little bit chunkier than the small format XT4. And I was really happy with it until it broke almost instantly. So the thing that happened is, even though the Fujifilm XT4 is weather resistant, so it's not waterproof, no camera is completely waterproof, the battery grip is not. And at some point during somewhere in the first weeks of owning it and using it intensively in the mountains, it stopped working. Batteries were no longer charging, controls were no longer working. And then when I opened it up and I started digging around and inside, to see what was happening, I discovered corrosion on the connectors. So what probably happened is that while going up and down in the mountains, you go through loads of varying temperatures. You go from really hot to really cold, from really humid to really dry, all within one day, multiple days at a time. And I just left it on top of my camera, connected to my camera, and it must have corroded. There must have been a buildup of condensation inside, and it died. So I lost 2 batteries and this 290 euro hand grip within 2 weeks of actually purchasing it, which is bad, but it gets worse. A couple of weeks later, I actually had my Fujifilm XT4 camera stolen off of me. So I probably lost around, 400 euros worth of this stuff, which was, I wasn't able to recuperate. And then after schlepping my XT4 through the mountains, up and down rocks, over glaciers, rain, everything, I had it stolen off of me in Chamonix, France. It was gone. It's the most horrible realization when you reach for your camera, like where's the camera, and then just you realize it's not there. It's really it's gone, and you get this horrible sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach. And I remember I needed to sit down just to take it in, and then I went to the police and made a police report. Not because I was hoping that some thief would be found, but because I took out insurance. Oh my God, luckily I did. I took out anti-braking and anti-theft insurance when I purchased it. So I needed a police report in order to be able to file for the insurance policy to kick in. And it was just terror. You're in France. I speak French. But the local police, they were just busy. They didn't give a damn about some tourist who got his camera nicked, and it was just in there for ages. And then making reports was just like a grueling process. But then I finally had the police report, sent it in. A couple of weeks later, I had my insurance policy approved. They gave me credits so I could repurchase the same camera. But still, all in all, with the SD cards, the batteries, Peak design clips, tons of small accessories, I think I ended up losing close to 1,000 euros in just stuff. And that was painful. So I repurchased the camera. I'm using it again. I'm exposing myself to risk again. And I'm absolutely terrified. All of last week, up in the Picos de Europa, I was completely, absolutely terrified of breaking it, damaging it, getting it stolen again. And then what I also purchased a couple of weeks ago, I haven't actually used it yet, is this DJI Mini 2. This is my first drone, and I'm absolutely terrified of flying it, crashing it, breaking it, losing money. And you're probably wondering, like, what's the point of this whole story? Well, I'm actually curious, like, what's your mindset about buying gear and then potentially needing to replace it? Because whether it's camera gear, or whether it's like hiking boots or your tent or a mat or anything along those lines, good stuff is going to set you back a lot of money. Are you willing to actually go out there and use it and potentially get it lost? Because what I tend to see online and Facebook groups and Facebook groups is ownership appears to be the hobby. Loads of people, they don't really go hiking. They go hiking 1 week a year, and then the rest of the year they're on Facebook groups talking about their 1 week and just buying stuff and then owning stuff and collecting it. Like, are you a user or are you a collector? Because before I set out on this trip, I was just going through my camera gear and deciding, like, what do I want to take? Like, do I leave it at home where it's risk-free? Or do I pack it with me in my backpack, potentially get it destroyed, potentially get it stolen? And for me, the answer was, okay, within reason, if I'm actually going to use it, I'm just going to take it with me. And if I do get it stolen and if it does get broken, that's the risk I took. And this is a risk I'm willing to accept. Of course, I'm going to do everything I can to avoid this happening. But for me, the main point is doing the activity, having proper tools to get a proper result. So that's my goal, get some good results. And for me, good gear is worth it. But when I'm buying gear, I am most certainly considering, am I willing to lose this? Because it's going to happen. It has happened before. Hopefully it's not going to happen again. But just, to give you some advice, if you're considering purchasing something, whether it's bikes, hiking gear, anything, you should ask yourself the question, can I replace this? Can I afford to lose this thing? And, I don't want to say like that I have loads of money and that I can just, afford to lose an XT4, or that I wouldn't mind if I lost my DJI Mini 2 here. I would. Like, this would be grave financial loss for me. This would be very, very damaging to my personal finances. But I made the decision to invest into this equipment, to be able to take it with me, to have a good experience and hopefully create some quality things. So, yeah, lots of things to consider here. Some takeaways from this. Don't trust your gear to be weatherproof. Always double check. And loss and theft is probably going to happen. So I was really happy that I took out some insurance. I would really, really appreciate it if you guys were to reply to this video and just tell me about, how you feel about investing into gear and how you deal with the potential of loss. Like, do you leave your stuff at home? Are you really reluctant to take it with you? Are you like hanging on to it all the time? Or are you more like nonchalant and you don't really care as much? Have you been stolen from? Have you lost equipment? Were there like ways that you accidentally destroyed something? Like, these are things that happen. And I love to chat about it because it's pure misery. And at least this way we can just share a story and maybe have a laugh or share some compassion. So yeah, that's the only thing I'd like to talk about today, and share me your stories.